Deep within an ancient, enchanted forest, where the trees whispered secrets and the waters shimmered with magic, lay a mystical lake known as the Moonlit Lagoon. This lake was unlike any other. It was said that under the full moon, the water reflected not just the sky, but hidden truths of the world. Fairies danced on its surface, their wings glowing softly, and swans with pearl-white feathers glided gracefully, their eyes full of wisdom. Among these magical beings was Alara, a swan fairy with golden hair and sapphire blue eyes. She had the rare ability to transform between fairy and swan, her wings more radiant than the morning sun. Alara was known for her kindness, her love for all creatures, and her adventurous heart. She had spent centuries tending to the lake, ensuring its waters remained pure, its magic undisturbed. One evening, as Alara skimmed across the lake in her swan form, she noticed something strange. A shadow moved beneath the surface, something large yet eerily graceful. She froze, watching intently. Slowly, a figure emerged from the depths, a creature unlike anything she had ever seen before. A velociraptor. But this was no ordinary beast. His emerald green scales glowed faintly in the moonlight, and his amber eyes were filled not with malice, but with sadness. His long claws, though sharp, rested gently against the water's edge, and his breathing was steady, controlled. He did not move like a mindless predator but rather like someone burdened by a great sorrow. Alara's heart pounded, a mixture of fear and curiosity. Dinosaurs did not belong in this time, let alone in an enchanted lake. Who was he? Why was he here? And why did she feel drawn to him instead of afraid? From that night on, she found herself returning to the lake, always watching from a distance. The dinosaur never attacked, never roared, he simply existed, gazing at his own reflection as if searching for something lost. After weeks of silent observation, Alara finally gathered the courage to approach. She transformed into her fairy form, her delicate wings fluttering as she landed near the water's edge. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The dinosaur's head turned toward her, his piercing gaze locking onto hers. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, to her astonishment, he spoke. "My name is Kale," he said in a deep, sorrowful voice. "I was once a man. A prince." Alara's breath caught. "A prince? How could that be?" Kale continued, his voice heavy with regret. "I was cursed long ago by a vengeful sorcerer. He turned me into this creature, and banished me to this lake, where I am forced to remain under the moon's watchful eye." "Why?" Alara whispered. Kale lowered his head. "Because I refused to marry his daughter." Alara's wings twitched in surprise. "You were cursed, for following your heart." Kale nodded. "I did not love her, and I could not lie. But the sorcerer's wrath was great. He cursed me to be a beast for eternity, claiming that no one would ever love a monster." Alara's heart ached for him. The sadness in his voice, the loneliness in his eyes, it was unbearable. But there was something else too, something the sorcerer had underestimated. Kale was not a monster. He was kind, and in that moment, Alara made a decision. She would break his curse. Alara knew that breaking a curse this powerful would not be easy. She needed answers. How had the sorcerer cast the spell? Was there a counter curse? Could Kale ever regain his human form? Determined, she left the Moonlit Lagoon and ventured into the depths of the enchanted forest, seeking the wisdom of the elder sprites, ancient beings who had lived since the dawn of time. The journey was perilous. Alara had to cross the whispering marshes, where ghosts of lost travelers tried to lure her astray. She faced the firethorn vines, which burned anything they touched. She even braved the storm cliffs, where the winds howled so fiercely they could tear the wings from a fairy. Finally, after days of searching, she reached the crystal grove, where the elder sprites resided. These luminous beings spoke in riddles, their voices echoing like distant chimes. "The cure you seek lies in the hands of the one who cast the curse," one of them told her. "Only he can undo what has been done." Alara's heart sank. The sorcerer was the only one who could break the spell. How could she possibly convince him to reverse his own magic? She had no choice. She had to face him. With Kale by her side, Alara traveled to the dark castle where the vengeful sorcerer resided. The castle loomed like a shadow against the stormy sky, its towers twisted like the claws of a beast. Inside, the sorcerer sat upon his throne, his cold eyes narrowing at their arrival. "You dare return," he sneered, and with her, Alara stepped forward. "Kale was never yours to control. You have taken enough from him. End this curse." The sorcerer laughed. "Why should I? He defied me. He deserves this fate." Anger flared in Alara's chest. No one deserves to suffer for choosing love. The sorcerer raised his staff, dark magic crackling around it. Then let's see if your love is strong enough to survive. A battle erupted. The sorcerer unleashed storms of fire and shadows, while Alara and Kale fought back with every ounce of strength they had. Alara used her fairy magic to shield them, while Kale, despite his monstrous form, fought with the heart of a true warrior. In the final moment, when all seemed lost, Alara sacrificed her wings, offering them in exchange for Kale's humanity. A golden light erupted, the magic shattered, and Kale transformed back into a man. Kale stood before her, no longer a dinosaur, but a prince once more. He reached for Alara, his hands trembling. You gave up your wings for me. Tears filled her eyes. I would give up anything for you. Kale pulled her into his arms. Then let me give something back. With a whisper, he kissed her. And as their lips met, the magic within Alara reignited. Her wings returned, even more beautiful than before, shimmering with the light of the moonlit lagoon. The sorcerer was defeated, the curse was broken, and against all odds, a fairy and a prince, once a monstrous velociraptor, had found a love that transcended time, magic, and even the laws of nature. They returned to the moonlit lagoon, where they ruled not as fairy and human, but as soulmates. A love story that would be told for generations to come.